Welcome to Lesson 16 in Advanced Behavior Management, Module 215. And as with the last videos, we're going to take a look at a specific behavioral challenge in this video, and it's the class of behaviors we'll call sexually inappropriate behavior. Before I begin, I should give you some assurances. It's really not that common for people to behave in sexually aggressive fashions in our workplaces. It's not unheard of, and we need to be careful, but a lot of people have a higher level of fear than is realistic. What is more common is for people who are lonesome and who do not clearly understand the sociosexual skills of our community, who accidentally or inadvertently cross boundaries with other people, or who are so emotionally desperate and lonely that they are trying everything, even though I think in their own mind they realize it's not very likely to work. If you're that lonesome, the idea of having your favorite caregiver give you a bath or being able to go to the swimming pool with that person might be as close as you get to having sexual needs met. So, what does this set of behaviors look like? It often looks like people who are making unwanted sexual advances or crossing your boundaries. It could be that they're looking at parts of your body or down your clothing. It could be that they're using terminology such as referring to you as their wife or their girlfriend, or becoming jealous when you show attention to other people because they perceived you as being in a special relationship. Sometimes they invite you to participate in dating or sexual activity, or they don't respect when you tell them that you're not interested in that. And sometimes they seem to always want you to be around when they need help with personal care. And you start to wonder whether they actually need that help as much as they might be asking. And at its more advanced stages, you might start to see people behaving in ways that are publicly sexual and inappropriate, such as people masturbating in public places. Well, how do you manage these types of situations? First, sometimes these behaviors fit back in our shocker category. People aren't really being purely sexual as much as they're doing something to create an emotional response by other people as a way of getting what they want, or a strong emotional reaction as a form of revenge. But in other cases, when you sit back and you assess, you can tell that the person has sexual needs and they just aren't able to meet them, and they're not quite sure about how that is. If it's a shocker, go back and deal with it that way. But if it's an issue around skills and knowledge, then the issue is for you to redirect the person to skills that are going to be effective for them, and in some cases to control the environment, such as giving a person an opportunity to go to a particular place where they can meet their sexual needs. For example, a private place in a home where masturbation is possible. This really requires us to do a lot of preventive work to establish places in that person's life where they can have privacy. Now, providing a place for people to have sexual stimulation when they're by themselves isn't that hard. But for those people who find a consenting partner, often that's just part of the challenge. Finding somebody who's willing and able to be sexually engaged with them is half the struggle. Then finding a place where they can actually do that is the other. And in many of the facilities where people live, there are social pressures or rules that explicitly don't allow them to have somebody come and be alone in their bedroom or some other space. So what that does is create a need for people to go out and do it someplace else in the public or where it's not acceptable. And so we can't have it both ways. We can't tell people we don't want them to do it in public and also tell them they can't do it in private. We need to create policies and spaces and rules and safety provisions that allow people to have time alone with their sexual partners, or if they don't have a sexual partner, with whatever media and other things they need to meet their sexual needs. We also need to spend time realistically teaching people socio-sexual skills, not just the physicality of reproduction and sex, which at the end of the day only has a limited usage for people. We need to literally sit down and have conversations and lessons and practices with people that help them to learn some of these skills. Practicing doesn't mean practicing sex. It might mean practicing how to ask a girl to dance with you, or practicing how to phone somebody up and invite them to go out on a date. Those are simple things. You don't have to get into the icky with people to teach them those things. You can teach them in the exact same way as you might teach them workplace skills or table manners, and offering people plenty of outlets. So we have to set aside sometimes our own values about things like premarital sex, masturbation, or pornography, because we realize that lots of other people in the world don't have the same values as us, and they may access those things whenever they want to. We need to be conduits if the people we're supporting need those same things. If we start to get into areas that are more complex, we need to engage people with particular expertise. It's a matter of protecting ourselves so that we can clearly demonstrate that we are not trying to do things beyond our expertise level, and also that we understand that this is a sensitive area that needs us to think about reputation and legal risk management. So it's about doing things in a more safe and ethical way, but it's also about making sure we do things in an effective way. There are specific nuances and tools that people will have acquired in this area, and they may have media or personal interactions that you can access to help design something for people you support. All right, here's an example. You are swimming with Randy and you notice that he's been staring at you. You also notice that he has an erection and he seems to be touching himself in the pool. He's approaching you now and he wants a hug. I'm sure that for many of you, there's a visceral response to this. It's very uncomfortable, but it's a realistic scenario. It's based on something that's actually something I've seen. How would you respond in this moment? Remembering that you have to be able to be a dignified responder and be somebody who keeps yourself safe by also being able to help Randy. And what are some things that could have been done before you ever got to the swimming pool that might have helped prevent this situation? Again, a blog entry and being prepared to discuss this are what we want. This is almost the end of the course. Our last videos are going to talk about some of the wrap-up ideas, but this is the end of us focusing on specific behaviors.